What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? How are you doing, African Superstar family? It has been a very long time, nearly a month since I have gone live, and that is due to my high speed internet being down. So I have been coping with that. So annoying. So annoying. But the internet was restored today, so we are back at it again. I'm coming live. Going to pick up where I left off with the proximity series. Big shout out to the African Superstar family. Make sure, guys, when you come in, hello, you have not seen me live for an entire month. So if you are excited to see me, please let that be known. All right? Be a part of our conversation. Like the stream, you can support the stream. I'm back at it again with the proximity. Yes, big shout out to the African Superstar family. Yes, hello, hello. It's me back at it again. I want to remind you guys, if you are planning your trips to Ghana, please do not hesitate to get in contact with me. I do help customize tours, bespoke tours. So whatever it is that you are looking to do here in Ghana, I will be happy to assist with that. I also have a group tour coming up October 19th through the 26th with Mr. Taye Uhuru. So we'll be doing a collaborative tour and we want you to be there. Yes. And last but not least, please make sure you add the African Superstar to your streams. In other news, guys, guess what? I wanted to do the soft launch. Members only is coming back as of next month, as the beginning of May. You guys will be able to have access to behind the scenes vlog. There's been some really exciting things going on with your African Superstar here in Ghana. Some of you that follow me on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook have been made aware that I've done a guest appearance on a telenova, which is like a soap opera here. So I'm actually going to be appearing on several episodes of a telenova here called House of Clue. And I was actually on set last week and it was just so amazing. So your girl's venturing into acting. And I will actually do a vlog on members only to kind of go into the details of how that came about because it's not something I actually pursue. Big shout outs, guys. Who is in the room? We have Tony Africa. I see you there. Yes, yes, yes. Big shout outs to you there. They got a new setup here. Golden Gold. I see you there. Yes. Okay, family. You guys are in the room. I have a few videos to show to talk about tonight's topic, which is proximity. I'm back at the proximity. And I want to talk about consumerism, dissatisfaction, and also lack of ownership. These are also things that we suffer living in the Western world because of the environment, because of the society. And there's several different reasons that this actually came up. This topic came up today. So I was speaking to my girlfriend, Nicola, who's recently migrated from the U.S. to Portugal. She was living in Virginia and she's moved to Portugal. She's been there some few months now. Also a comment that I just saw on Dynasty Mir, and also what I have personally observed from Westerners, more specific British and Americans in the international community. And the comment that she made to me was that she feels that since she's traveled to Portugal, her life has become more simplified. She doesn't feel the need to own certain status symbols like she had in the Western world, status symbols that are meant to exude wealth or, higher education or, things like that, such as living in a particular part of town. Obviously, consumerism, designer clothes, handbags, shoes, that kind of thing. The car, the appliances, the latest phone. A lot of these things we associate in the Western world with status, and the truth is it's not it's not as relevant as we think it is. You know, with the latest development with the tariffs going on with the US and China, and many Chinese manufacturers kind of divulging that they are the people that are producing a lot of these high-end designer name brand goods, and you know they're creating them for $10 or $15, and then they're sent to, you know, Europe and sent to America and sold to the Western consumers at a much higher price. And we put a lot of weight on those things, yet they don't bring us my next topic, satisfaction. Okay, the constant consumerism does not, it's never ever satiated. Okay, it's never ever filled. There have been so many countless Westerners that have traveled to Asia, traveled to the Latin world, traveled to Africa, and they have seen people who, in their opinion, don't have much. Okay, they don't have, you know, a huge 4-bedroom house, and they're not driving the latest cars, and they're not wearing designer clothes, but they have, you know, generational families, they have contentment, they have good health, they have children that have gone on to be successful, a lot more intangible things, which are actually much more meaningful and much more valuable than the material gains that we prioritize and focus on in the Western world. And, you know, as I've lived abroad now for many years, I have been able to see that it's very hard for Westerners to be content. So also, I recently was on Dynas Demir's live stream. He had a live stream today, and he was talking about how when he takes groups of people to Sierra Leone, they complain. They complain incessantly about this and about that, and that things aren't organized and infrastructure and all this stuff. Instead of being grateful for the opportunity that they're having, instead of comparing it, you know, to the long, expensive, and tedious process of other countries, you know, it's always a problem. And I have definitely, you know, witnessed that on many occasions. Diasporians just constantly complaining. I mean, obviously, I live here in Ghana, and many diasporians are not happy. You know, they weren't happy in America. Now they're in Ghana. They're not happy here. You know, they're always complaining. Nothing is good enough for them. Ghana has been one of the leading countries to extend an invitation to the diaspora. And instead of the diaspora, you know, taking that, realizing, hey, this is a starting point for us. This is a way for us to bridge the gap. This is a way for us to retrieve information about our history, our heritage, our homeland. No, it continues. Okay, we need free land. We need this. We need citizenship. We need this, you know. And even once you start ticking off some of those things, still dissatisfaction. Okay, the Western world instills dissatisfaction in you. You can never be satisfied in those environments. You know, you buy that pair of shoes you've been wanting, and next thing you know, you want the new shoes the next week. Okay, you've got a cell phone. Hello. Now the new model comes out 6 months later, and you want the new model, and the new model has maybe 1 or 2 features that your phone doesn't have, and you just gotta have it. It's consumerism. And consumerism goes hand in hand with dissatisfaction. You know, I have seen and witnessed through my world travels that a lot of places around the world, people are a lot more content with less. And I'm going to share some videos about consumerism, the damages of consumerism, other people, you know, kind of observing different things. I have learned living here in Ghana to honestly be happy with a lot less of this and that. You know, I've also become very resilient. I've also been able to, you know, understand that I don't need a lot of these things. I don't need a lot of these things. You know, and fortunately, I've been able to resolve this particular issue with myself. You know, admittedly, I was a huge consumer when I lived in the Western world. Definitely, you know, what's up, the homie? I see family in the building. Yes, guys. I was a huge consumer. I've talked about it here on the time, always a designer handbag, always the latest, I love sunglasses, eyeglasses, shades. I mean, even on my last trip, I picked up a couple of shades. But one of my goals with my consumerism, as I barely shop now compared to every 2 weeks, every paycheck I was shopping in the Western world. I mean, I would have shopping carts ready on my favorite websites that when that money hits my direct deposit, I'm delving out this money like it's a necessity. But like I said, as I began to travel, I realized like, man, I'm really spending a lot of money on nothing. And the last part of this conversation is lack of ownership. The irony about the fact that we are the consummate consumers, that's what Black people are considered. Okay, the consummate means they're going to shop and spend no matter what. And definitely our people are the consummate consumer. We consume brands we know don't like us, have done controversial things, have made controversial statements, have even directly told our people, we don't want to do business with you. We don't want you in our restaurants. We don't want you to wear our clothes. And yet we continue to consume those brands. Okay. Now our own brands, Black brands, we take a lot more constructive criticism of those brands, a lot more analysis, a lot more focus. And if we have any run-ins with those brands, or we have a less than satisfactory encounter, the Black brand is out. But a lot of these perpetually racist brands, we patronize and make them, huge fortunes. Okay. We're called the consummate consumer. All right. The irony about being a consummate consumer is we don't own anything. We don't own anything. Huh? Take a look around right now. African Superstar family, look at your house. You don't own it. Hello? Some of our seniors may own it. Maybe you guys have paid off your mortgages or whatever. The vast majority of you don't own it. You have a mortgage. The bank owns your house. Okay, you're making payments every month towards the mortgage. You don't own your car. You're making payments every month on your car. You may not own your cell phone. Huh? T-Mobile, Verizon, come on in. Get a free iPhone with a 2-year contract. You don't own that bad boy. And the list is long. Jewelry, clothing, shoes, handbags. You swipe the card. Huh? You swipe the card for that bad boy. You don't own anything. But every month, you have a long list of bills that you pay. Expenditures. Okay? You earn $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month, 3,000 pounds a month, 25,000 euros a month. You'll be lucky if you can save 100 of that and put it in your savings. Put it towards investments. Save for a rainy day. Okay? These are all elements of proximity. This is upbringing in the Western world. Okay? We are immersed in consumerism from childhood. Hello? Who's a Disney fanatic? We got any Disney fanatics? Don't be shy. Don't be scared. Any Disney fanatics? Huh? Happily ever after? You went to Disney World? You went to Disneyland? You had a favorite Disney character? Huh? You went to go see him on ice? You went to go see the movies? You had to have the little stuffed toys? From childhood, we were immersed in this consumer culture. And even at that stage, as a child growing up in the Western world, you didn't have no income. Your parents was paying. What I see here in Africa, for instance, is a lot more gratitude from the young people. You could give them one thing that might not even be brand new. They will cherish that thing. They will never forget. They will be grateful. They will say thank you. It will be a big deal. If they get cake and ice cream on their birthday, it's a big deal. They're grateful. You know, I see so many kids in my neighborhood as I walk to and fro. They're so happy to see me every day. Hi, auntie. Run up and give me a hug. It's a big deal to them. Just to be seen, just to be acknowledged, just to have that connection with you. It's so genuine and it's so beautiful. And unfortunately, in the Western world where we are, just raised up on this consumerism and dissatisfaction, nothing. I mean, a lot of you guys, some of you guys are African migrants that are raising your kids abroad. You know exactly what I'm saying. One of my friends from Ohio called me. I think we talked about it a couple years ago. His daughter was turning 16. And I mean, he went all out. He took her to a Broadway show and he bought, gave her a really nice, I think, laptop or, and also money. And he said his daughter was just like laissez-faire. Typical American kid. You can give them the finest whatever. You'll be lucky if you get a thank you. And this dissatisfaction, even when you change your environment, you still find problems everywhere. I always say, for the way that we're treated, the manner that we're treated in the Western world, you would think that the diaspora would be running from the Western world. You would think they would be happy about their new tropical environment, the safer environment for their kids, access to the beach, better nightlife, food without preservatives, chemically modified. You would think that they would be like, oh my God, finally. And the fact that we voluntarily come here. You would think that the diaspora would be happy. Big shout out to the Afrikansuperstar family. All right, I'm going to get into the videos now. I have a few videos to kind of discuss this consumer craze and what it's doing to you. One of the biggest tools modern day, one of the biggest vehicles rather of consumerism is this social media. This social media. You're seeing ads every 2 to 3 seconds. You might even see an ad on this YouTube video. I was trying to watch Dinah's live stream and ads was popping up on the live stream. It's like constant advertising. And it actually triggers, stimulation in your brain. So it begins to alter your attention span. And we can see this in the young generations. They can't concentrate at all. Big shout out to the Afrikansuperstar family, guys. Please make sure you get into the comments. I'm coming through. Let me start with the videos about this consumer madness. All right.
Consumerism is the ideology that buying things is going to make me happy or complete. But we often shift that. Well, I'll get rid of my things and now I'm going to be a consumer of experiences. Experiences are great. I really enjoy them. In fact, the one way to be present is to experience life. However, if we start chasing experiences, if I just had this experience, then I would be happy. If I just had this experience, then I'd be fulfilled. If I had this experience, it would be better than owning stuff. Well, maybe, but maybe it's also a chase. And so any chase often takes away my freedom. And I value freedom. I value peace. And it's not good. It's not that you should value peace. It's just, I would say that I wanted freedom. I would say that I wanted peace. But then my actions would be everything that took me out of peace. Added chaos, disorder to my life.
Okay, so this man is talking about how, and again, this is very popular in the Western world, people talk about, oh, I'm not a consumer. And, I really want freedom. I really want peace. I've talked about this here on the channel. For me, realizing that freedom was available in Africa, for me, that's all it took. The rest, the planning, the logistics, the capital, I had to make a way because I found out that freedom was available to me. And I've also, adjusted my lifestyle to be able to have the freedom. But a lot of people say they want the freedom, but they're not really after the freedom. Shout out to Dahomey for that very generous super chat. I appreciate you. So this man is saying, hey, yeah, some people will shift their consumerism for materials and then they'll make it a consumerism of experiences. Okay, I want to do travel. Are they really being satisfied? No. In some cases, it's just a shift in your consumerism. Now you are catching flights and not feelings, and you might just spend a few minutes in that country, a few hours, maybe a day or two. Are you delving in? Are you really assessing the place? And again, we see this displayed in the diaspora because a lot of people are coming to Africa. They're coming here on trends. They're not coming here because they know it or like it or really want to make a life. They're coming here to prove a point or to stun on their friends and this and that. They come and they don't have longevity because it's obvious that A, they didn't know where they were coming, and B, they don't really have an interest in remaining. Okay, big shout out to the Afrikansuperstar family. I see you guys in the building. The next one is about a woman, an American woman who spent time in Italy, and she began to, kind of see the difference of lifestyle and the difference that we are groomed.
Let's talk about consumerism in the US and how it's completely out of control compared to other people in the world. The first time that I really realized there was such a difference was when I went to Italy the first time when I was 16. I went as part of an exchange program and lived with a family for 2 weeks who I still am in contact with today. They're amazing. And growing up in an Italian American household, like, a lot of the things were similar, but the fact of like the consumerism in the US was not the same at all. And it was like shocking to me. Like, I had probably at the time at least 15 pairs of shoes, 8 different handbags, an entire like closet, wardrobe full of like new clothes I was switching out week by week. Really cheaply made, didn't cost a lot, but it was like, oh, like I need to be like trendy and whatnot. Like, no, who was I? When I first went over there, I realized how much stuff I had. And I'm still working on it too. Like, this is an ongoing issue in my life. I think the most shocking thing was that my good friend was so beautiful. Like, she's still so beautiful, like the outfits, everything, they're quality, not quantity. To this day, she buys a pair of shoes maybe once a year. Things are tailored, things are brought to dry cleaners, things are taken care of. We just throw things out here. And it's not only like with clothes, it's with like everything. Everything is more refined, smaller, you don't need as much, you're getting quality. Like, take for example the grocery stores. Like, they go to a meat market, they go to a grocery store for things that they kind of like need quickly and all in one place. They go to like a specialty pasta shop or a produce person, and you're getting quality. You're also getting lots of interaction and supporting the local economy, which I can get into in another video. The marketing too is completely different as compared to here. Like, advertising for like medicine, for like new treatments is not a thing. I don't even think it's legal over there. Actually, no, it's not legal. I'm personally on a debt payoff journey, right? But now it's like, I really want to embody the aspects of like those wonderful people that I met over there in being more community focused, less like buying. Like, we associate everything around buying. If you don't go shopping, people consider you weird. So take a look at your life. like I'm doing right now, does it really matter? Do I really need the $2 earrings that are going to turn green within 30 minutes? Do I need the cheap pair of shoes that resemble like some designer runway a couple seasons ago, but are made of like pleather and like they smell gross? Do I need to change out my entire wardrobe and get some cheap crap that's gonna fall apart after 2 or 3 washes? I think you should consider it. I'm considering it, especially while like everything, the one thing you can control is what you bring into your household. So in your life, yeah, I have some work to do.
So this young lady talked about a lot of things which I have definitely expressed after my move from the US to the UK. You know, I really did enjoy many aspects of European life. She talked about obviously a lot more people buy what they need. I think part of this is space constraints. You know, living in the UK, the housing was very, very small. So there's not a lot of room for excessive clothes and shoes and things like that. And I do think in Europe, the focus on quality is a lot more. You know, quality made shoes and clothing and coats. I often shopped at H&M and Zara, which I view as affordable brands, but their clothing very, very well made, you know, and last for many, many years. I still have lots of things from Zara, lots of things from H&M. Literally, I probably had them 10, 15 years now, and they're still really good quality. Another thing she talked about was the quality of food. You know, in America, there's this bulk shopping that goes on. You know, people go to Walmart, they go to Target, they go to Costco, they stock up and they get all this stuff, all this food. Whereas in Europe, you know, there's a lot more smaller supermarkets and a lot of locations for you to kind of pick up what you need and cook then and there. And, you know, there's not a lot of this bulk shopping, grocery shopping and things like that. In addition, public transportation is widespread, accessible, and usually very, very clean, high quality. So it makes it accessible. If you don't want to drive, you don't have to drive. And it doesn't mean you're a bum and it doesn't mean you're poor. You know, affluent people, people that are middle class doing well, take public transportation and those kind of things in Europe. So this lady was having a realization when she spent time there that, wow, you know, her perception, the way she spent money, the type of things she bought was a lot different. And obviously, you know, to many of us that grew up in the Western world, it's not our fault. That is the environment that we come from, and that's the exposure that we have. But going back to proximity, this is a danger, you know, because this leads to wasted resources and again dissatisfaction, because you know, since you are a consumer and since you constantly buy and shop and it's part of your lifestyle, you're never happy. You know, you want something. Like I said, I'm a former, you know, big time consumer. You want something so bad, you want those shoes, you want that expensive handbag or whatever, you buy it, and then it's like, on to the next item in my shopping cart. You know, you get the excitement when you actually buy it, check out, maybe when you receive it in the post, and then after that, you know, you may not even wear it. You may not even wear it. Okay, in the last video, and I'll continue the conversation.
So I believe that as a group, we are one of the most psychologically misplaced people on the earth. And I believe that's due to our history. One thing I'll say I've noticed, especially with the black community and as it pertains to black British people, and people may say I'm generalizing, but this is my lay theory, is that the only thing that's usually passed down to us is consumerism, religion, and trauma. I say that again, consumerism, religion, and trauma are one of the few things that are passed down by black British parents or, you know, black people as a whole. And I feel like we need to do better. We literally need to do better. And people, we constantly keep seeing these things, you know, but we don't do anything about it. And it's all good and well me saying it, but I think all of us need to make a conscious decision to be like, what am I going to do for the next generation? Or what am I going to do for my people? What change can I make? for my people to put us in a better pedestal, if that makes sense. You know, that's all we know to do, to buy designer, to buy tables, to buy all these things that are of no use at all. And as it pertains to trauma, you know, I think we're one of the most traumatized groups psychologically as well, due to our history as well, and there are many other factors that have to play in it. But I don't want this to be, oh, why do you keep thinking like this? This is a victim mindset. It's not a victim mindset. It's understanding the issue and then going forward. And when you recognize the issue, you're able to deal with it. And I feel like this is where I'm at. I'm starting to recognize issues, patterns, maybe even myself, even as it pertains to religion as well. Religion has a way of removing your history. As it pertains to Christianity, you're told that your race does not necessarily matter. All are one. But sometimes I feel like there's danger in that, because you need to recognize that you yourself, you have a history. When it came to the church and they were segregating black and white people, they recognized you for your history. They recognized you for who you were, your skin. You know, at the end of the day, don't demonize your ancestors, don't demonize your own skin, because listen, when it comes down to it, that's what you're recognized as, and that should be your uniting factor. That should be an empowerment to you, that listen, this is what my people have gone through, and because of that, listen, I know that I'm powerful. Like, I know what this skin means for me. You know, don't feel victimized, don't feel why I'm even saying this is because so you can have confidence in yourself, you know. And I feel like sometimes religion can rob that away from you.
All right, family. So those were the videos that I wanted to share to kind of get into this conversation. I think that this consumerism, which ties into dissatisfaction and then the lack of ownership, honestly, you know, these are again symptoms of our Western environment. You know, I was having a conversation, like I said, with my girlfriend in Portugal, and I was saying to her that, you know, it's really interesting that my age mates here in Ghana, you know, for those of you guys that know, I'm in my early 40s. Many of my peers here are doing really good. Like, they own lands, they may have already built projects. Some of them are entrepreneurs, some of them are professionals, some of them are married with children, you know. And when we look at, in terms of being where you really want to be in life, I find that a lot of Western people, again, are experiencing dissatisfaction. You know, you've gone to university, you've got the job that you've been wanting. You know, you moved to the big city or whatever it is. You know, you've ticked off a lot of boxes in terms of whatever you have been pursuing, all to get to the fact that you are not happy and satisfied with what is going on. And so when you, for instance, leave that environment, there is a deprogramming that you must go through in yourself to realize that, again, we have been strategically groomed this way. And the reason we've been strategically groomed this way is so that we can generate money and wealth for the companies that are producing these things that we don't really need. You know, I touched on it a bit on a previous proximity, which is the more self-aware you are and the more content you are in your situation, you realize you don't need a lot of this stuff. You don't need a lot of this stuff, and you know that a lot of this stuff is not going to make you happy. Big shout out, Seatful Thoughts. I see you there with that super chat. Big shout out to the family. Guys, make sure you like the stream. If you're happy I'm back, yes. For any of you guys that just joined, it's been a long near month. We had a windstorm here in Accra, which I did a video about. And during the course of that windstorm, my high-speed internet was blown away. And unfortunately, Telecel, who is the company that bought out Vodafone, unfortunately, they're really, really horrible. It took them all this time to come and restore my internet. So that is where I have been. Unfortunately, I have not been live. So I'm really, really happy to see you guys tonight. But I got a whole stack of proximities. And so this actually was motivated again by the conversation I had with my girlfriend. You know, it's really interesting. She's going through a very, very contemplative period now that she's out of the Western environment. And another word to the wise, I know a lot of Western people get upset when those of us that live abroad, when we come and talk about our experiences, because they feel like we are talking down to them, or they feel like, basically, they feel left behind is what it is. All I want to convey on this platform is that it's not always your fault that you have been made and rendered ignorant about a lot of things. But it is your conscious decision whether or not you're going to stay in the dark about a lot of things. You know, that is your responsibility. And I do find that it's a lot easier to deprogram yourself when you have changed your environment, because the environment that you're currently in is set up and designed in a particular way. And your peers, a lot of your peers have been groomed the same way. And it's just a very, very consuming place when you, no pun intended, but it is a consuming place when you decide that you want to shift and you want to change and you want to go into another lifestyle. But you know, in reality, they can't capitalize on us if we decide, hey, I'm going to be happy with this, you know, cell phone for 5 years, or I'm not going to change cars as long as my car is rolling, or, you know, I'm not going to be on Amazon every 5 minutes, or Shein every 5 minutes, or, you know what I mean? These companies lose out. That's why they're constantly advertising and marketing to us. All right, let me check the comments. I'm having some issues with this thing, boy. I tell you. Let's see here. Big shout outs. What's up? What's up? TNK, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Who said we don't need electricity? Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Who said we don't need electricity? Did you hear me say that? Jesus Christ. What's up, real quick? Big shout out to the Afrikansuperstar family. I see you there. Yes, thanks for stopping by. Sweetberry32. I see you there. Kobe Jack, Corgi. I see you there. The homie is in the building. Yes, thank you, Tony Africa. He's reminding you guys, please hit the likes. All right, please. If you're here, that's how you can show your love and support. Gets us in the algorithm. All right. So make sure you're doing that. Yes. So I came back. Indeed. Telecel is so terrible. Seafood Thoughts may have had a run-in. I don't know what the hell. When it was Vodafone, you know, it used to run so much better. If you ever had any problems, they would get somebody out to your house probably like within 24 to 48 hours. I mean, I couldn't believe that my internet has been down for a month. But guess what? Guess what? Unlike a lot of people, okay, I'm not going to pack my bag and leave Ghana because I didn't have Wi-Fi for the month. You see? You see what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I'm okay. I survived this inconvenience. You know, and yeah, I didn't get to stream and see my channel. I did post a little bit of videos here and there, some vlogs, some shorts, and that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, you see, and this is what I'm talking about learning how to just be happy and content and grateful. You know, at the end of the day, human needs are very minimal. What you really, really need. I'm talking about if you got stuck in the middle of the woods, if you got stuck on a deserted island, okay, if the boat you were on lost power, you would find out real quick what you need to survive. Okay, you wouldn't need the latest handbag. You wouldn't need the latest iPhone or the smart, you know, washer and dryer. You wouldn't need that. You wouldn't need the 4-bedroom house. Huh? You wouldn't need the Netflix membership. No. You would need food, water, potentially shelter, you know, and maybe a companion to talk to. So, you know, but there's been even instances of people in solitude, you know, people getting lost here and there, whatever, and surviving. And it just puts in perspective, for me, COVID put this in perspective. I realized what I really needed, in life, what I really, really needed to just survive. And I realized a lot of things are extras. A lot of things are luxuries. If you've been able to travel around the world or travel to multiple countries, that is a luxury, my friend. If you have multiple citizenships, luxury. Considering that a lot of our peers don't even leave their jurisdiction, especially if you're from America. I'm from Ohio. There's a lot of Ohioans, Columbus folks. They've never even left Columbus. They might not even have been on the opposite side of town. These are luxuries. Being able to, treat yourself to things that you like, going out for a nice meal, glass of wine, whatever. Luxuries, all extras. It's all on top of what we actually need to survive. And so the takeaway from this, guys, is, again, they are playing with our minds in the Western world for their benefits. Okay? So that they can make money. And for some of us, it's destroying our life because there's no end in sight of this perpetual cycle. And like I said, we're consumers, spending all of our money, okay? Not even satisfied once we spend all of our money, and having a lack of ownership. So at the end of the day, we don't own diddly squat, even though we've spent hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars on erroneous things. Okay, hello. First trivia question: what was your favorite brand back in the 90s? Huh? When you were a teenager or a young person, what was your favorite brand? Think about it. You got your parents to get you this, that, this, that. First thing that popped on my mind was a starter jacket. Huh? Starter jacket. Nike shoes. Cross colors. You know what I'm saying? I had a nice cross colors jersey. I think I might still have it. It might still be in one of these because it's really, really nice. You had these brands. You bought that piece, whatever it might have been back in the days. You might not still even have it. I keep a lot of my things, so I still do have my cross colors. I have my Coogis. You know what I mean? I had my LA gear. I got some LA gear. Now they're vintage jean jackets. All this kind of stuff. I still have some of those things. But some of you don't even know what the hell happened to them things. And those were big deals for us as teenagers, back in the days or whatever. But the point is, we done spent so much money on so much stuff. And now, 20 years, 30 years later, we don't have the things, but that money is spent. Just imagine if it was an investment. Just imagine if you bought gold with it, or bonds, or land, or you were, investing in something that would appreciate. People that made investments back in them days, and those investments are yielding, or creating generational wealth, the people are happy about that. I don't think there's anybody who complains about passive income. I don't know. But anyway, guys, this was my return to the proximity series. Again, yes, I've explained my hiatus. So I want you guys to reflect on this proximity. A lot of you, some of the things that are bringing you great despair in your life have everything to do with your environment. And what I want you to know, what is the biggest takeaway from the African Superstar and her platform is go and explore your options. Maybe Ghana is not the place for you. It's okay. Okay, maybe, I would hope that maybe somewhere on the continent would suit you because there's just so much availability. There's so much options from the east to the west to the south, all kind of different flavors, but if the continent doesn't suit you, There might be other options elsewhere, you know. And there's an old adage here in Ghana, which is travel and see. You know, you can't know these things sitting on your couch, sitting in your position. You can't. And if you really want your eyes to be open and you see things, I mean, even if you begin to, you start your travels by maybe in the US, if you've never traveled, you'll see from the east to the west to the south to the north, you get different vibes. You know, you go to New York, it's different than Miami. You go to Miami, it's different than Houston. Houston's different than LA. LA is different than Chicago. You know, if some of you aren't ready to go international, you can't afford it, or you don't have a passport, you can drive. You can, you know, I mean, it might be kind of like a little risky, but you could take the Greyhounds. And if you're in the East Coast area, you can take the Amtrak to some places and things like that. You know, just to give you, just to start having some eye-opening experiences that the reality that you are having day to day is not the reality of all, you know. And so it's worth you exploring. Big shout out to the African Superstar family. We had 20 of you guys. Special shout outs to my two super chat donors, Seatful Thoughts and Dahomey. I really, really appreciate it. Yes, family. Again, please consider me on your visits to Ghana. If you're ready, you know, to make those decisions and say, you know what, I need to go and experience Ghana, I'm interested in Ghana, or I just want to see what the hype is about, or I just want to come and see the motherland, you know, let me help you customize your trip, plan that. You can reach out to me at africansuperstar@gmail.com. Our group tour, that information is on Taye Uhuru's website. You can book your deposit there. If you guys are interested in that, you need to get your spotted, okay, because it's now basically May, June, July, August, September, October. So we have, you know, less than 6 months to get ready for that tour. So if you're interested, then go ahead and get your deposit in. We can start planning for you and so on and so forth. www.tayeUhuru.com. And also, guys, in other news, Members Only is coming back May 1st. And Members Only is going to get access to behind the scenes vlogs. You guys are going to be considered the immediate family. And you can be able to see a lot more of my day-to-day life here in Ghana, things I don't share with the general public, such as the behind the scenes of the telenova that your girl is doing guest appearances. You know, you know you're big when you do guest appearances on TV, huh? Do y'all remember when your favorite celebrities came? Yeah, that's me now. I'm on a series called House of Clue, KLU, and it's showing on DSTV and Showmax. If you're able to get them, I can't even get it because my phone is UK, so I don't know. Some regions may not be able to see the show, but it is already on. It started on April 1st, and I appear in episode 32. And then some subsequent episodes after that. I shot 4 episodes this past week. Yes, your girl's major. Rich auntie vibes, huh? Yes. So if you're interested in seeing some of the behind the scenes of my set life, all of that is going to be on my Members Only. So starting on May 1st, I'll post a link. And if you're interested and subscribing to our Members Only, getting behind the scenes vlogs, and obviously anything music related, any music videos and things like that, I'll be releasing them first on Members Only. Yes. Okay. All right. Big shout out to the African Superstar family. Guys, I'll be back again tomorrow with another proximity. Okay. There is a proximity playlist. I'm going to repost it on the community tab if you've missed some of the previous episodes, because I know it has been a month. But you can go back and recap, because I've talked about a lot of problems that comes from us being in close proximity, how that's impacting our people, and how, you know, for me, the continent was an answer to a lot of these things. Okay? All right. Big shout out to the African Superstar family. I'll see you again tomorrow. Until we meet again, stay black and true. If you ain't black, just stay true.